Raise your hand if you've seen any of the Jason Bourne movies. My favorite came out in 2006. It's called The Bourne Ultimatum, and it talks about an ex-CIA agent named Jason Bourne who has amnesia, and he's trying to figure out who got him involved with an assassination program years earlier. After speaking with a reporter from the Guardian newspaper, the reporter gets on his cell phone talking to his editor about this Operation Blackbriar. Unbeknownst to this reporter, that word had been flagged for further review by the National Security Agency in the U.S. if it ever came up in intercepted communications. And just that happened. Almost as soon as that phone call took place, an NSA agent listened to the call and forwarded it to a task force, which then surveilled the reporter trying to find Jason Bourne. A lot of this sounds like science fiction, but thanks to a man named Edward Snowden, in 2013, we found out that the NSA does actually behave a lot like this. Edward Snowden was an NSA contractor in Hawaii who fled to Hong Kong and then Russia after revealing to Guardian reporter Glenn Greenwald the scope of the NSA's surveillance programs. This caused a firestorm in the United States. American journalists and legislators grappled over the capability, actions, and constitutionality of the programs and debated whether Snowden's leaks were honorable or treasonous. And to this day, the capabilities of the spy agency remain virtually unlimited and its operations shrouded from accountability. The acts that authorize the NSA are set to be renewed in 2023, and you can do your part to make sure the NSA is reformed to protect our civil liberties. So what exactly did Edward Snowden reveal? Well, do you use text messages? Do you use emails? Do you use the phone? Do you record videos, social media? Basically, anything with an internet connection that records text, audio, or video is recorded in real time by the National Security Agency. They do this for the purpose of trying to track terrorists. This is the problem that they're trying to solve. But it violates our civil liberties because the Fourth Amendment of the Bill of Rights protects us against unreasonable searches and seizures. And if you had somebody like Richard Nixon, who was responsible for the Watergate scandal, behind the NSA, it might not be terrorists that they're going after. It might be rivals, dissidents, people that speak up, people that are whistleblowers. And so this is why we have constitutional liberties. Snowden revealed that the NSA is governed by a secret court that is not accountable to anyone, and nobody knows what happens there. And the NSA usually would have to apply for warrants from this court to track the communications of an American citizen. But Snowden revealed a program called PRISM where this was not happening, where the NSA would issue a subpoena to all major telecom companies, Verizon, AT&T, Google, Apple, Microsoft, forcing them to give their engineers backdoor access to all their servers so that the NSA could have real-time access to all Americans' data, as well as anyone in the world who uses an American company for their telecommunications. Analysts at the NSA called this a home court advantage, since the data would come through American companies. And so, if you use AT&T, Verizon, Google, Apple, Microsoft, if you even play Xbox or any type of online gaming, it goes through NSA servers, and they listen for keywords, they investigate terrorist groups, and they possibly could be listening to us right now. It's pretty incredible what the NSA is capable of doing. Snowden eventually was gained refugee status in Russia, and that's where he currently is. How did American officials react to Snowden? Well, they were pretty split 50-50. A lot of legislators, senators, congresspeople, they viewed him as a hero who revealed huge unconstitutional overreaches of government violating our liberties. They argued that he should be allowed to come back to the U.S. and not be charged. However, just as many of these legislators felt that Snowden was a traitor who had threatened our national security, who had made it easier for terrorists to sneak under the radar, and they think that he should have gone through proper channels and not leaked this information to a reporter. So we've talked about the problem, that the Fourth Amendment grants us protections against unreasonable searches and seizures. So what's the cause? The cause is the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Acts, authorized by Congress, doesn't have a lot of oversight, and it keeps getting renewed by Congress. It was recently renewed in 2018. Well, in 2023, it's set to be renewed again. And so that's something that we can do. We can encourage our senators, we can encourage our legislators to not pass or renew these acts unless major reforms are made to protect the rights of Americans. Just how bad is this issue? The New York Times in 2015, in an article by Julia Angwin and 5 other journalists, said that the National Security Agency's ability to spy on vast quantities of internet traffic passing through the United States has relied on its extraordinary, decades-long partnership with a single company, the telecom giant AT&T. One document described the partnership as highly collaborative, while another lauded the company's extreme willingness to help. Then you have companies like Verizon that would fight the subpoenas in court. However, one interesting thing about this is that these American companies also received gag orders where they were forced not to talk about these issues. They were forced not to warn their customers that the government was getting all of their data. This is a huge problem. Many companies in Silicon Valley expressed anger over the egregious nature of this, and they just started developing encryption to prevent the government from being able to do this. But these major companies, some more willing than others, kept quiet about it. How is it relevant today? Even today, the NSA has unlimited power that is shrouded from accountability. Our Fourth Amendment rights continue to be violated, and just about 10 miles from Utah Valley University is the Utah Data Center, which is probably housing most of the world's data. And so that gives us as Utahns further qualification to question their practices and to call out for change. Recently, Edward Snowden published a book where he talked about his experience at the NSA and revealing everything, and the government successfully sued for all the proceeds from Snowden's book. So this continues to be relevant to everyday Americans and Utah Valley University students in general. And so the takeaway is that we may not be living a life like Jason Bourne, but we are experiencing government eavesdropping like he did. And if we don't promote the change to protect our civil liberties today, who knows how much more encroachment we might get from the government tomorrow. The ongoing capabilities of the United States National Security Agency against everyday Americans are pervasive and shocking. The agency's subpoenas and gag orders against U.S. companies and the agency's governance by a secret court are appalling. Whether or not you believe Snowden was a traitor or a hero, everyone can agree that the journalists like Glenn Greenwald that he gave the data to did the right thing and exposed the government for spying on Americans. We've seen the problem, we've seen the cause, and the solution is, when these acts are up for renewal in 2023, all during this time, we need to be getting on the phone, we need to be emailing our senators and our legislators and saying, if you're going to renew these acts, we need to call for major concessions. We need an inspector general appointed. We need major reforms to ensure that our liberties as Americans are protected. We need warrants. We need criminal suspicion. We need all kinds of things like that to protect our liberties. The Fourth Amendment of the Constitution protects us against unreasonable searches and seizures. And like I said before, we may not be living a life like Jason Bourne, but our civil liberties are just as important today as they were yesterday, and just as important as they will be in our children's future.